JIN's bed scene. Why is HYB keeping JIN BTS's latest music video a secret that supposedly contains shocking moments in bed? Is it true that the internal staff panicked? Is this a hidden clue? Or is it precisely the beginning of a major conflict between JIN and his own agency? An internal leak reveals more than just JIN's body behind the camera, but also the secret that has been hidden from the army. JIN's bed scene. The staff leaked a shocking behind-the-camera moment. Why hasn't JIN's latest music video been released yet? Why was the scheduled teaser trailer suddenly canceled the day before the release? And what is the meaning of the mysterious clue attributed to the scene of the genie on the bed? Is this just part of an artistic concept? Or is there something much bigger going on behind the scenes of HYB? One question continued to resonate among fans and even internal staff. Did JIN intentionally insert a hidden message through a bed scene in his music video? A leak from the internal staff, who chose not to be named, has caused an uproar among the army and netizens. Not only because of the existence of a scene, but because of the panicked response of the HYB staff themselves after seeing the raw cut of the video shoot. According to the confession of one of the creative crew directly involved in the production of the video, JIN personally co-directed the bed scene touted as clue scene. The scene is not a sexually explicit scene, but the atmosphere is quite intense and emotional, loading JIN in a dark atmosphere with empty expressions, just sitting on the bed in a minimalist room decorated with strange symbols. There are no words, no music, only the sound of breathing and heartbeat. The scene left the staff speechless. It's not just that. One source revealed that JIN insisted that the scene not be cut. He even stated, if this scene is deleted, then the meaning of the entire video is lost. Then, why does HYB keep insisting on holding back the release of the clip? Another internal source said that after JIN delivered the final results of the music video, there was a sudden meeting that lasted for almost 6 hours. Not because of the quality of the video, but because of the meaning it contains. They mentioned that the JIN consciously inserted symbols of resistance, suffering, even anger against something that was not explicitly explained. However, his clue was firmly entrenched in that room, especially the bed. Why the bed? One of the theories that developed, especially from fans who had seen a cursory leak from behind the scenes, said that the bed was identical to JIN's last filming location before serving in the army. The color of the bedspreads, the location of the pillows, even the direction of the light. Everything resembles a room that briefly appeared in JIN's vlog before the hiatus. Is this JIN's way of saying something he can't say directly? Meanwhile, HYB's reaction caused even more suspicion. Some of the staff began to speak quietly that the company was not comfortable with too deep emotional and personal nuances in the video. One of the producers mentioned that JIN apparently wanted to use the video as a final letter, not a promotion. A letter to whom? For fans? For someone in the HYB? Or is it for someone he can no longer reach? After a delay that never received an official explanation, fans began to conduct their own analysis. They found that clues from the genie had been spread over the past months through Instagram captions, messages on Weverse, and even a selection of emojis. The mattress emoji that appears twice in a row when he says, "Thank you for everything," is now considered not just a joke, but code. And now rumors have surfaced that HYB deliberately hid the original version of the music video. The version that is currently ready for release has gone through 7 edits and cuts. Even an editor working under the visual team said that the final version given to us already differs greatly from JIN's initial vision. This leads many to ask, is the genie being silenced? Is this too much creative control? Or did JIN himself really want to convey a secret message to the public? More shockingly, a lighting staffer admitted that JIN cried on set after shooting the bed scene. He refused the makeup touch-up and just sat with his back to the camera, staring at the wall for more than 5 minutes. All the crew is silent. Nobody knows what to say. The scene, according to witnesses, was part of the video, but was eventually deleted. The question now is not just about the video, but what exactly is JIN saying? Is this about the sadness he kept during his time as a BTS member? Is this a form of frustration towards the agency? Or a message addressed to someone who means a lot in his life? Could it be that this video is a form of emotional outlet that he can never express directly? In an internal interview, JIN said, "There is a part of me that can never be shown on stage." Now, fans are starting to associate that statement with the bed scene in question. Because for some people, the bed is not just a bed but the last place to cry, reflect, and surrender. Now, clues after clues begin to emerge, including mysterious photos from the set showing JIN's handwriting on the set wall. If you see this, please listen to my song completely. Do not stop at the 3rd minute. A sentence that makes anyone's hair stand on end. Next question. Will HYB really release this video? Or will it continue to hold it? Does JIN know that his emotions have been cut off from the artwork he created himself? And if he knows, how does he feel? As the ARMY continues to dig into Clue, one thing becomes increasingly clear. This is no ordinary music video. This is a message. This is a wound. This is the story of someone trying to scream through a silent scene in bed. Are you ready to see the truth? Or you prefer to remain silent, like a camera that stops recording when the most honest moment occurs? Since this rumor broke, the mood among the fandom has changed drastically. What was initially thought to be a loving comeback has now turned into an enigma that leaves a trail of tension. There is an inexplicable fear. Not because the scene is vulgar or sells cheap thrills, but because something behind JIN's gaze in the bed scene feels too real, too personal, too painful. The ARMY began petitioning HYB for clarification. But what appears is precisely silence. Too long silence. Even some large fanbase accounts were muted on certain platforms due to speculation about the original version of the video. Is this a coincidence? Or is it part of the already designed damage control? Behind all this, the sound editors divulged even more disturbing things. In the raw audio that is not inserted music, a genie's voice whispers softly, barely audible. But with the sound insulation technique, one vague phrase was successfully revealed. This is not what I want, but this is the only way. What does JIN mean? Way to what? A fight? Uncover? Surrender? Not only that. In another part of the leaked project files, a visual fragment was found that looked like the genie was standing in front of a mirror. His body seemed to tremble. There was blood on his fingertips. The camera moves slowly towards the bed behind her, and right in the middle of the pillow, there's a small, partially burned photograph. It is not clear whose face is in the photo, but the clues around him suggest something personal. There are names written in Hangul, but partially erased. Some fans believe it's the name of a BTS member. Others insist it's nothing but rather a metaphor of the genie's own identity that has been controlled. The question is, if all these clues are not coincidences, then why did HYB delete them? One growing theory is that JIN has actually proposed the concept of this music video since last year. HYB refused, saying it was too dark and uncommercial. Only after JIN insisted and stated that he was ready to finance the production with his personal funds, the filming process began. But even after filming ended, the drama behind the scenes did not stop. In fact, according to a post-pro technician, there are 2 versions of the video circulating internally. One sanctioned version for the public and one banned version that can only be accessed by 3 people in the production department. Which begs the big question, what is hidden in that forbidden version? There are rumors that in that version, the genie is not only on the bed, but also reads letters. Letter in black ink on plain white paper. He read it slowly, with a voice almost broken. The camera just glances at his eyes. And at the last sentence, he stopped and cried. Not an acting cry, but the crying lasted too long. Then, the letter was engulfed in flames. Did I ask that a farewell letter? Or a letter to someone he can no longer reach? Fans associated many of the symbols in the video with the lyrics of a rumored song titled Eclipse. A song about loss, about darkness swallowing light, about the sound that disappears behind the camera's spotlight. But until now, even the song has not been officially released. Does this mean that JIN did not want the song to become public consumption, or quite the opposite, he wanted the world to see it, but was prevented? A former HYB visual staffer who now works at another agency revealed the shocking statement. He said, "The video is not about JIN as an idol. JIN is a human being, and that's what made HYB panic. They don't want the world to know who he is when the cameras are completely silent." The sentence is viral and added pressure on social media. But HYB remained silent. But silence can no longer be soothing. Silence now raises more questions, more wounds, more speculation. Meanwhile, some of the army tried to reconstruct the set of rooms in the bed scene based on. In this smoldering tension, one of the most mysterious things that fans began to talk about was the motive behind the selection of the property in the bed scene. Not just any blanket, not just any bed linen. The faded gray color used, the sheer fabric that looks like it hasn't been replaced in a long time, even the lighting that relies on just one flashing table lamp. It all implies something. Is it an artistic coincidence? Or a metaphor of the JIN's unstable inner state? In fact, one of the most disturbing scenes featured in the 11-second teaser, which has now been completely removed from all platforms, shows JIN sitting on the side of a bed with her hands tied with red thread. The thread extends and stops at the doorknob. On that door, only one word was written: exit. Is that a sign he wants to get out of something? From HYB pressure? From life as an idol? Or from this world? This scene, which was initially only considered symbolic by some fans, was the main trigger for the emergence of an online movement titled #LetJINSpeak, which has now been tweeted more than 20 million times. Fans from different countries united in one voice: free the genie. Not physically because he was not a prisoner, but expressively. Free the genie to tell her own story, without filters, and censored, without being regulated. But the surprise actually came from HYB's own internal. A lighting staffer known by the initial name K leaked that during one of the shots for the bed scene, JIN suddenly asked everyone to leave the set. Even the director was told to wait outside. The camera stays on. JIN himself pressed the record button. The scene lasted only about 3 minutes, and no one knows what was recorded in those 3 minutes. But after leaving the room, JIN looked pale. He didn't speak for several hours. And that very night, he wrote a long note in the production log room, which read only one last sentence: "You can cut any scene, but don't ever cut my honesty." However, the next day, during the editing process, the scene disappeared. The file was not found. Even traces of its backups are not stored on HYB's internal servers. Who removed it? And with whose permission? Some army refer to this as an emotional suicide video, a new term describing idols' attempt to destroy the agency's established image, then rebuild itself from its rubble. But is the public ready to accept a new genie, a genie who is no longer trying to please everyone? Furthermore, video analysts who are the army also find hidden frames with frame-by-frame slow exposure techniques. In one frame that only appears for 0.3 seconds, it can be seen that the silhouette of a genie is writing something on the mirror with the steam from her breath. The word is written in only 3 letters. Why? Why? Why is all this happening? Why hide? Why aren't genies allowed to perform with all their fragile and real sides? The thing that made it all the more emotional was the reaction of some of JIN's former staff colleagues who used to work with him in the early era of BTS. One of them wrote a long message on Instagram, then immediately deleted, but was caught by fans. I remember him saying, "If one day I can't talk anymore, let my work be my voice." But what if they took that from me too? I just hope the video really gets to you guys the way she wants it to. This message becomes an emotional explosion that can no longer be contained. Across social media, there have been hundreds of videos of fans crying, hugging the screen, and even reading an open letter to JIN. Among them, an army man from Brazil recorded himself reading a letter in Korean. If this video is your scream, we heard it. Do not extinguish the fire, even if they try to douse it in silence. HYB itself has not issued an official statement. But rumors are circulating that the agency's internal affairs are now being torn apart. Some parties fully supported the release of the original video because it was considered a breakthrough in emotional art, while others called it a danger to the company's image. There is pressure from investors, there is pressure from advertising partners, and even mentioned that a creative director has resigned because of differences in vision about the limits of artist expression. But what's most surprising is a leak from an industry forum that mentions that HYB is currently working on a new version of JIN's MV, which completely removes the bed scene. Not only that, the song Eclipse is also rumored to be changed the lyrics